Chapter 20. Things changed very quickly on the island. In a single day, Dargo was able to reform some of the laws I'd grown up with. No one was allowed to leave via the train without his permission. He stationed soldiers to watch it. Though Anila was allowed to stay in the palace, she chose to move in with us. She no longer had any power and wanted to be as far away from Dargo as possible. Victor, now cured of the plague, stayed in his own home and refused to see Mom and me whenever we tried visiting. Whether it was due to the loss of champagne or the changes, I wasn't sure. Either way, he wasn't doing well, and I felt terrible for him. It had only been 2 days since Dargo took over Josh's body, and all I could think about were the people on the mainland who were suffering from the plague. They didn't have much time left, and Dargo said he would create more birds to make the rest of the world sick. Mom tried to get me to stay in the house, but I was going crazy being cooped up like that, so I rode my Bethel to Dargo Plaza. I checked out the bookstore a mile away from the palace. Josh loved coming here. I browsed the fiction section and saw a couple of books by Donovan Scott, one of Josh's favorite authors. I grabbed one and walked to another section. One thing that hadn't changed was the island's economy. People were still allowed to buy things with the money they earned, but with Dargo's dream of world annihilation, I doubted any new merchandise would make its way to us in the future. No more new books, movies, clothes. We were about to become self-reliant, and that scared me. The thought of being completely alone in the world scared me, with nothing beyond the edge of the world but death. "Hello, sweet thing," a voice said behind me. "You look lovely today." I spun around and saw Dargo grinning at me. He wore a red robe with gold buttons. He held his arms behind his back once again. This was the first time I'd seen him in days. He'd been locked away inside the palace, doing God knew what. How are you able to do all of this?" I asked, referring to all the magic he'd done so far. "Oh, I'm just full of surprises. Rockne taught it to me." "Why would he do that?" I couldn't believe my ears. "After your grandfather cast him out and Rockne found his way to this island, we became friends. We practiced magic together." "You were friends? I find that hard to believe, considering what he did to you." He nodded. "It was a long, long time ago." "What do you want?" I asked. He looked at my book. "Donovan Scott. Is he any good?" "I've never read him. Why don't you ask Josh? He loves him." "I might just do that." He took a step closer. "What, exactly, is the nature of your relationship with Joshua? I would have thought you two would be betrothed by now." I laughed uneasily. "Why would you think that? He and I were just friends." "Why is that? Do you not find this," he indicated his face, "attractive?" "He's cute, but I've never thought of him in that way. And he only likes me as a friend." I studied his short brown hair, his green eyes, and dreaded the fact it wasn't really Josh. "Well, is there anyone you do think of in that way?" "Why are you asking?" "Because I find you very attractive, Astrid." "Well, that's unfortunate." I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. I wasn't sure if Dargo wanted me to be flattered, but he only managed to make me angry. "As long as you're possessing Josh, I'll never be interested." "Oh, so you would be interested in Joshua if I weren't around?" I knew that was what it sounded like as soon as I said it. "I'm saying I wish you weren't around." "If I weren't around, the plague would still be running rampant, and your fellow islanders would be dead." "I can't believe you. You're the one who made the plague." I walked away from him as fast as I could. That feeling of hopelessness grew stronger. Dargo grabbed my hand and spun me toward him. I'm sorry if I've upset you. I was imprisoned for over 100 years. That much isolation can make you cranky. You didn't have any visitors? Only one. Andor's great-grandfather. I only saw him once. How did he find the island if Rockne hid it? Dargo looked at me from the corner of his eye. Do you really care, for my sake, or are you trying to get information that will benefit you? I didn't care about Dargo and had been trying to get helpful info out of him, but he seemed to figure me out. I really care. You're good, sweet thing, but I'm better. He walked past me, but I stopped him when I said, You don't talk like someone who was imprisoned for 100 years. He looked at me over his shoulder. I'm off to the school to see what the children have been taught about me. Until next time, sweet thing.